Up to Blake. Blake toe drags, backhand, Lindgren. He gets run into by Blake, but Blake was checked into Lindgren. It was an ugly scene, but Blake was hammered into Lindgren
by Wilson. This may well be a goal for Jackson Blake in 2-0 Carolina.
Well, they've got an interesting call coming up. They have put the tablet away, and Mitch Dunning to make the announcement.
Upon video review, the puck completely crosses the line as a result of 43 Washington's contact with the Carolina player. Therefore, we have a good goal on the ice.
Welcome to the Canes Corner podcast. I am Adam Gold. Thank you very much for spending the time with us. A little later start than I had anticipated. In fact, I had forgotten that the game started at 7:30, and I had set this whole thing to start a lot earlier. Then we went overtime. Then there was just enough that the game ran a little long. So here we are about, about 10 minutes later than I intended, even after the adjustments. But who cares? Who knows when you're listening to this? It is a podcast. It's timeless. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hannon and his crew do a great job. You should check them out. All right. 5-4 Washington in a shootout. Let's work from the end and go back. All right, work at the end. Let's start with the shootout. This annoyed a lot of you people. First of all, wait, hold on. Timeout. We get one timeout, right? Canes clinch home ice advantage for the first round of the playoffs. Canes and Devils will play again. I think this is the most frequent Hurricanes opponent in the Stanley Cup playoffs all time. Second time in 3 years for these two teams? 3 years or 4 years. And we know that games 1 and 2, +5, +7, 5 and 7 if necessary, will be on the Lenovo Center ice. I think they'll all be necessary. I think we're going to we're going to have a 7-game series. I think the Devils are really good. I think Carolina is still right now searching for their game. So I anticipate this needing the distance. Hey, playoff hockey is fun. Game 7s are fun. Carolina at home is good. Granted, Game 7s haven't gone well for Carolina at home lately, but take my chances in a Game 7 on home ice. So we have that out of the way. We don't have to worry about what's next to clinch. There's nothing left for the Hurricanes to clinch. The only thing you would like, ideally, is enough points where, let's say, it's Florida that comes out of the other side. And Florida won tonight, so Florida has 96 points. Carolina and Florida has 3 games left. Carolina has 4 games left and has 97 points. If you can get 2 more wins, if you win the weekend, Rangers and Maple Leafs at home, chances are you're going to stay ahead of the Panthers. And if it is Florida on the other side and the Hurricanes are fortunate enough to get out of the Metro, then you'd have home ice advantage over the Panthers. But I'm here to tell you that while it's important, it's not critical. The most important thing is if you've got any players at all. And I think Rod will take advantage of this. Any players at all that could use a break, you give it to them. For instance, let me just workshop this. Jacob Slavin had a rough road trip. Is it possible that Jacob Slavin is dealing with something that has, rendered him not quite as agile and mobile as he has been before? If that's the case, and you can give him a little bit of a break and maybe get him a little bit closer to 100% between now and 10 days from now when the playoffs start, then Jacob Slavin doesn't take another shift. If that's the case. And I have no idea if he is hurt or not. I just know that Slavin couldn't prevent Tom Wilson from getting around him and scoring. That was uncharacteristic. Slavin was on the ice for all 5 Boston goals and didn't play well. Sometimes you're on the ice for the 4 goals and it's somebody else's fault. Jacob Slavin has been a contributor to the mistakes of late. And I realize he ended up killing the penalty in overtime when Alexander Ovechkin fell, but it was judged and ruled that Burns tripped him. But let me point out 2 things that happened in the overtime. One, after Jordan Staal wins the faceoff, somebody going to have to explain to me what Jacob Slavin was thinking about by trying to carry the puck through 2 Capitals in the offensive zone. You're Jacob Slavin. You're not Cale Makar. Please, Jordan Staal won you the faceoff. Would you please retreat into the defensive zone so Sebastian Aho can come on the ice and take the puck from you? Please? Not only did Slavin do that, but Slavin got away with tripping Pierre-Luc Dubois. It was awful. Really was not a good road trip for number 74. So maybe Slavin just needs a break. Maybe he needs a week off to just whatever is bothering him, heal up. If it even matters. It might not even matter. But hey, not playing for 4 days ain't gonna kill him. So it's important to stay in front of Florida, but it ain't critical. The more critical thing is, can you get healthy? So these 4 games, there is nothing at all to prove. You're not catching Washington. That was sewn up tonight. You are not. Actually, that was sewn up in Buffalo. So you don't have to worry about catching Washington. New Jersey can't catch you. The only thing that would benefit you winning these games and earning some points, well, 2 things. One, you could stay in front of Florida. Tampa's not, Tampa and Carolina have the same number of points right now with 4 games left. So maybe you could stay in front of Tampa. You're probably not going to catch Toronto. Maybe, who knows? So that's the only thing that you would benefit from tangibly. All the other benefits to playing at least this weekend, well, you got your fans at home. You want to give your fans a show. And while the first period was awesome and the third period was very good, the second period was hot garbage. Frederik Andersen wasn't awesome tonight. I'm a little concerned. We still need to see something from Pyotr Kochetkov. He's got 2 starts left. I don't know if you're going to use Andersen in Ottawa to close out the season on a Thursday, because it's not even possible. It's more than likely that your playoffs begin on Sunday or Monday. So giving Freddie a little bit longer than 2 days off, Friday, Saturday, if you start on Sunday, if you give him, so if you don't play him on Sunday, like tonight was his last game, Sunday, he'd be off for like a week, and that's probably cool before he starts a playoff game. So, but this team does need to put a 60-minute game together where they don't have stupid things happen. And you can only do that in a game. Although maybe just shutting it down, letting some younger guys play, and the Wolves are involved in the playoffs, so you're not going to just raid their roster. But they can certainly give some guys nights off. I'd love to see Seth Jarvis get a couple of days off. I'd love to see Sebastian Aho get some time off. And you know that there are guys who are dealing with bumps and bruises that need time off. So we'll probably see Scott Morrow play here a bunch. It would be awesome if we could get Alexander Necas here to potentially play at least one of the games this weekend, but I don't know if that's going to happen. He's not here yet. So there's a lot of red tape, I guess, to deal with. They also haven't signed him to a contract, although that might be a formality. I don't know. So there's nothing to play for the rest of the week. All right, now that we've addressed the big picture, that kind of stuff, let's talk about the shootout. And I realize that we have in our minds notions of who should be good in shootouts and who shouldn't be good in shootouts. I saw something tonight on Twitter that A, made me laugh, and B, made me go, will you people please stop? I forget who it was, and it doesn't matter. I'm sure this person isn't the only one who thought this. Why is Rod trying to lose the shootout? Or why isn't he trying to win the shootout? I think Rod Brindamore was trying to win the shootout. The first two shooters were, A, Carolina's hottest goal scorer, Jackson Blake. 2, did I go A? 2, Andrei Svechnikov, who is by a mile Carolina's most successful shootout player. No joke. There is nobody on the Hurricanes with more than 5 attempts who is over 30%. There's actually nobody on the team. I think Brent Burns might be just over 25%. They're bad. It's a bad shootout team. We've known they're a bad shootout team. Andrei Svechnikov before tonight was 44% for his career. That is miles better than anybody else in the team. So for people who didn't like the lineup, I don't know what you're talking about with the first two guys. Look, I get it. I raised an eyebrow as well, and I have good eyebrows. I raised an eyebrow as well when I saw Sean Walker get out there. But ain't nobody any good on the team at the shootout. How would you have felt if they had sent Brent Burns out, who actually in the past has been good? Or how would you have felt had they sent Jacob Slavin out, who in the past has been good? Sean Walker has, before tonight, did you know this? Sean Walker had never missed a shootout before tonight. Yes, he had never attempted one, but you find the lie when I tell you that he has never missed a shootout. This was his first career shootout attempt. But having gone to practices, and for some of you who have gone to practices, you would know this. In between drills, they will blow the whistle, and Rod will send somebody out for a shootout attempt. And if the player scores the goal, the goalies skate. And if the player doesn't score the goal, the players skate. It's you just do one lap, right? I'm going to guess here, because I haven't seen it, that Sean Walker must have scored a shootout goal in practice. This is what they do. They do this often. They do it at every practice. Heck, I don't think they would have done this at a morning skate, but maybe they did it at yesterday's practice in D.C. Maybe they did it when they came home from, where were they? Boston. When they came home from Boston before going to Buffalo. Maybe they did it then. I don't know. The bottom line is this. The head coach doesn't spin a wheel like, Sean Walker, it's your turn for the shootout. That ain't what happens, people. Be better. Be better. All right. Set that aside. Next. Third period was very good. You enter the third period down 2. I get it. Hurricanes have not been very offensive lately. They've been offensive while playing offense. 4 goals in the 3 games on this road trip prior to tonight. So it's easy to feel like, man, we're never going to score. Except they should have scored more than the 2 that they did in the first period. Probably could have had a goal in the second period, and certainly had opportunities in the third. They get to force overtime, ultimately end up in a shootout and you lose. But how about a little credit for the resiliency of scratching out a point when you went into the third period of the team who was going to finish second in the NHL. I mean, you got a point out of it. I kind of feel like that's pretty doggone good. I get it, man. We want to see this team win. It is now 4 straight losses. At least they got a point out of this one. 5th overtime loss of the season for Carolina. And if you look, most of the other top teams have 7, 8, 9. I think Washington's got 9 of these. Yep. Washington is now 50, 19, and 9 on the season. Can you imagine if Carolina, instead of being 46, 27, and 5, if Carolina was 46, 21, and 9? Right? It just feels a lot different. Tack on 5 points from overtime losses, and you're over 100 points, and we had everything wrapped up a long time ago. That's not how it worked out this year. Part of that is the roster isn't as good. Part of that is the players who are here, like Andrei Svechnikov, like to a lesser extent, but also not unnoticeable, hasn't been a great scoring year for Sebastian Aho. Those guys have not produced at the rate that we really need them to produce for Carolina to have been better this season. The truth is that for the first 18 or so games, maybe 20 games, Carolina was averaging about 4 goals a game. And since then, it's about 3 goals a game. I think the 1 goal per game makes a pretty big difference, don't you? On top of the fact that their goaltending, for a good long while, apart from just a couple of stretches, hasn't been good. And it wasn't great tonight. We'll talk about that as well. But with all of that said, Carolina's in a pretty good spot. They just have work to do in terms of figuring out some things that will help them get better. So, again, the third period was good. Good recognition by Martinook to get the puck all the way through. The camera angle from behind the Martinook goal was, how is this puck ever getting through to the net? And it did. I'm not sure Martinook could see the goal from where he was. Great shot. Staal was in front. I believe there were bodies all over the place. So Carolina gets that goal early in the third, makes it 4-3. All of a sudden, hey, look at that. We got a chance. We got all the way to the end, really. And Jarvis scores. And this is one of the things that is so good about Seth Jarvis. And after the game in the locker room, he basically intimated that he didn't have a very good game. I disagree. I thought Jarvis, Aho, and Blake were really good. There is one thing I would like to see from Sebastian Aho. I would like to see him start to shoot the puck more. But his 2 wingers are shooting it a ton. And if Sebastian is just going to be the facilitator and be the setup guy, okay. I'd like to see those guys shoot the puck. Score a little bit more, because they combined for 3 posts tonight. They had some chances. It could have been Jarvis could have had 4 goals tonight. Blake had some great chances as well. But as long as they are generating scoring opportunities, we're going to leave them alone. And they'll be your top line even in the playoffs. I thought that it was a really good line for Staal, Martinook, and Stankoven. This was the best we have seen that line. And I know Stankoven hasn't played a ton with them, and I'm not sure he will when William Carrier comes back, possibly even on Saturday at home against the Rangers. But I think Stankoven, much like Jarvis fits there, Stankoven is a very good fit with Staal and Martinook, to the point where if I'm Rod, I might leave Logan Stankoven there, even though I know that with Carrier, that line will dominate the puck And on home ice, yeah, I think on home ice, for games 1 and 2, as I talk myself through this, I'll be surprised if we don't see Carrier reunite with Staal and Martinook, which means that Carrier needs to get back in the lineup and play a couple of games. Maybe Carrier just plays Saturday and Sunday. Maybe he doesn't play both games of a back-to-back. Maybe he plays Saturday but not Sunday, and then Wednesday in Montreal but not Thursday in Ottawa. Like, you want this guy healthy. There's a reason you went out and signed him to this 6-year deal. So I think on home ice, I think you'll see Staal centering Martinook and Carrier, because it gives them a shutdown line, and it gives them a line that when they're on, they will hold the puck, and whoever Rod is matching them against will have to defend for, 12 to 14 minutes of even strength time, something like that. So that's the way I would like to see it go. But we haven't gotten to that point yet. Anyway, I thought Staal, Martinook, and Stankov were really good tonight. The Roslovic, Hall, Svechnikov line wasn't very good tonight. But with that said, I thought for the first time in a long time, we saw glimpses of what Andrei Svechnikov can be. I alluded to this a second ago. Hasn't been the offensive year Aho would want, or we would want for Aho and this team. Because as I bring up the baseball jargon that I used at the beginning of the season, Carolina's only got so many middle of the lineup big bats, right? Your run producers, your 3, 4, 5, 6 hole hitters. You've got Aho, who's had a B year offensively. You've got Jarvis, who is chef's kiss. Maybe the best player on the team. You traded away Necas. Jackson Blake has essentially assumed the role. Very good player, isn't he? And Andrei Svechnikov, you need him to be that big bat. He hasn't been. But I thought tonight we saw some really good signs, things that Andre can build on. He'll play against the Rangers. He'll play against Toronto, assuming he doesn't get hurt. And I think he'll play in Montreal and in Ottawa, because the mission over these next 4 games has to be getting Svechnikov back to the way he's supposed to play. But I think we saw signs tonight. Really smart play to get the puck on net, to force the rebound, and Stankoven was there to get it through Charlie Lindgren, even though it's probably a puck that Lindgren wants back. Either way, smart play by Svechnikov to not waste any time and get that on frame, and it resulted in a Carolina goal. So that's a great start. The Blake goal that made it 2-0. By the way, the first period was spectacular from Carolina. Rod said it in the bench interview. Did they catch Washington maybe a little asleep from the ceremony? Look, we've all, the Hurricanes have been there. It happens. So it's a real thing, but credit to the Hurricanes for making that happen. And that period was the first time in a while that we saw not just one line, but all 4 lines really engaged in a forechecking wave. It's about time. We hadn't seen it in a bit. So that was the first period. Utterly dominant. Probably should have been ahead by more than 2-1, right? Bad penalty on the part of Scott Walker. Completely unnecessary. I think it was a slash to commit that penalty. Not even a dangerous area. Like, I get a couple of the other penalties that Carolina took. I get those. I mean, even though it wasn't a penalty, that Burns committed, because there was no trip. If there was a trip, I would get it. I would understand it. Because there was somebody ahead of the play with a scoring opportunity. So if you have to drag him down, you have to drag him down. And that's not what happened. But I would have completely understood if Brent Burns had actually committed a penalty. He did not. By the way, as I said earlier, Slavin got away with one also in overtime. So maybe it's a rub of the green. All bets are off. So, but that first period was so good. That's what we want to see. That's the way we want to see the Hurricanes play. You're not going to play that way for 60 minutes. You're not even going to play that way for all 20 in a period, although Carolina came close in the first period. You hate for it to be 2-1 because, as I wrote down, if I could go through it, by the way, first good scoring chance of the game belonged to the Capitals, and Freddie Anderson actually made a good save. Bad pinch by Morrow, however, that set it up. We're going to talk about Scott in a minute. And then Canes got their 2 goals, right? Good power play that did not score, but a very good power play. They actually said out loud on the ESPN broadcast, man, the Hurricanes sure been shooting the puck a lot. Exactly. That's what it's got to look like. Shoot the puck on the power play, then go get it. Even though the goal wasn't a power play goal, it was the result of a rebound, so you're already in that mindset. Actually, the quote was, the Canes just keep shooting. I love that. Bob Wischusen is great, by the way. But you had so many opportunities. Blake off a steal, right? He gets in tight. Shot doesn't go. Taylor Hall off a pass from, I believe, Burns. Either Burns or Aho. Just whiffed. Like he hit it, he chunked it. And I don't believe he touched the puck at all. Then Jarvis rings the post off a great pass from Taylor Hall. So Carolina had like chances. I think Blake had another good chance on the power play. I think Svechnikov had a chance on that power play too. So Carolina had goal-scoring opportunities throughout the first half. And then, of course, the play of the game. So real quick to go through the Jackson Blake goal that made it 2-0 Carolina. First, Blake puts a nasty move on Rasmus Sandin, defenseman for the Caps. Toe drag, brings it around. He is going to unleash a shot. He might not score, but he's got a shot from the dead slot. And Tom Wilson just wrecks him. I mean, by the way, I thought the hit was clean. I did. It was, shoulder to shoulder, actually shoulder more to back, but that's okay. He's got the puck. He's not in a dangerous area, technically. I mean, the goal was there. But I had no problem with the hit from Wilson at all. But Wilson hits Blake, knocks Blake into Charlie Lindgren. The puck goes underneath Charlie Lindgren, and then, as we saw on the replay, obviously was well across the line. And it ends up after they put Jackson Blake in the box because he collided with Lindgren. Yes, I know. He was not only helped in, but forcibly helped into Lindgren by Wilson. So they reversed that penalty call because they were always going to do that once they realized what happened. And then they're reviewing for the goal, whether or not it was a goal, whether the net was off its pegs before the puck crossed into the net. And it doesn't have to be secure to its pegs. It can even be off if the puck was clearly headed in. And that's really what happened. The funny part for me is Dave Jackson, ESPN's rules guy, watching the video, I'm surmising, and saying that it wasn't a goal. Folks, I don't know what goalie interference is, but I do know that if the puck essentially goes underneath the goalie, clearly crosses the goal line, I don't care what that net did. That's a goal. The only thing you have to determine is, was it knocked into the net with something other than a stick? If it wasn't a stick, did it still go in legally? But Tom Wilson put it in his own net. I mean, Blake was the last to touch the puck, but Tom Wilson is the one that put it in his own net. So what are we doing, Dave? And Dave emphatically says it would not be a goal, blah, 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 and then tried to pretend that he got it right after the fact. It's like he's so bad. Dave Jackson might be a wonderful human being, but at his job, he ain't good. I was like, Dave Jackson is wrong again. Is undefeated at being wrong. Anyway, I thought we saw Blake continue to make plays, continue to defy logic about where he goes to make plays. He goes in the corners, he goes to the front of the net all the time. I could be his agent. Anyway, real quick, I'll save the only two parts that I didn't like about the game today for last. I didn't like the second period for two reasons. One, I thought Carolina allowed themselves to be pushed around. Maybe they felt they were feeling sorry for themselves because it was only 2-1 and then it was 2-2 right away with the power play goal. But the power play goal in the second period was symptomatic of what Carolina was in the second period, which was too easy to play against. They got big boyed for basically the entire period. They gave up 3 goals. The second and third goals come basically 30 seconds apart. So will that change with William Carrier back in the lineup? Do you deploy Carrier away from Staal and Martinook, especially on the road, so you're not prone to getting ragdolled by teams? But Scott Morrow, who I said I was going to talk about, so I'm going to have to work it in here. Scott Morrow, I thought, struggled tonight. Offensively, he's fine. Had a bunch of shots. He had some shots that missed the net. He got played with the second unit on the power play. Carolina's one power play. It wasn't great, but it's okay. He's only had one crack at it for at least now. I think he had some other power play time one of his other games. But maybe over the next few games, I don't know if Shane Gostisbehere is going to be out for any length of time, but maybe Morrow gets a little power play time there. But he was terrible, I thought, defensively. And I think that's a fear, not so much for this year, because theoretically he won't have to play, although he might. But next year, for my money, Morrow's got to be on a third pair. I don't know what the third pair is going to look like, other than I think Morrow should be on it. Because at this stage of the game, he ain't equipped to deal with NHL caliber forwards. I thought he played a very soft game tonight. So, to me, he was culpable on the Nick Down goal. Just, he did nothing along the right wall. And Dowd emerges with the puck, and he gets 2 cracks at it. We'll get to my other problem with that goal in a minute. So, Morrow, but Carolina was just physically beaten in the second period. And I thought the Slavin goal, well, sort of. The Tom Wilson goal that made it 4-2, Jacob Slavin never allows that goal. Ever. Wilson isn't a faster skater than Jacob Slavin. But he was on that play. And on top of that, he was stronger. He was bigger. He was more physical. Slavin doesn't play a physical game. We understand this. Wilson does. We understand that. But Slavin, who can be a physical player, was just a step behind Wilson. Again, this leads me to believe that it might be something going on there. But he really got just overpowered by Tom Wilson. I have these conversations a lot with people who don't necessarily work for the team, but are around the team. I seem to be the only one that thinks, among the people who cover, I seem to be the only one who thinks that Carolina's lack of size and lack of physicality will be a problem for them. And I say this because it has always been a problem for them. There are a lot of reasons why the Rangers, the Bruins, the Panthers, the Lightning have gotten the better of Carolina in playoff series, and why the Island, we'll get to the Islanders in a second, why the Devils haven't. Those first four teams I mentioned are all bigger and meaner, but without sacrificing speed. The Islanders are bigger and meaner, but slower. So Carolina's speed can dominate that series, and it often does against the Islanders. But those other teams, those other four I mentioned, and Washington fits that description this year. A bigger, stronger team. That can be a problem for Carolina. In the first period, it wasn't, because Carolina's speed won out over Florida's physicality. But in the second period, heck no. Total flip. And Washington got 3 goals out of it. Would have been different if Washington only got 2 and Carolina got 1 out of nowhere, although they hit a post. All right, now to the final thing. We needed a big game out of Frederik Andersen tonight. Didn't get it. He was better in the third period, had to be. Made a great save on Lars Eller to start the game. But while there were no bad goals per se, Andersen was very Kochetkov-like in his depth, in his flailing around on the ice, in his poor positioning. Un-Freddie Andersen-like things. So, a little concerned about that. And that will do it. The game ended late. I'm tired. This has been the Canes Corner podcast, brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job. You should check them out. Hang on one second. We just do this so nothing strange happens here. Oh, much better. I'm back. Our next podcast will be after the game against the Rangers, Saturday late afternoon, early evening. Then we'll be back on Sunday. We'll wrap. We have 4 more of these in the regular season. The playoffs are going to start either Sunday or Monday of next week. Should be exciting. We'll sort of preview that series with the Devils at some point when maybe we'll do it before the season is even over. Who knows? Maybe we'll make a wager with somebody up there. Anyway, Carolina still got some things to sort out. We haven't even discussed, and we'll do this maybe after the game on Saturday, how the roster might look like, how the forward line might look like when we get to the postseason, when Carrier comes back, when Kotkaniemi comes back. Right now, it's easy. Carrier is in for probably Tyson Jost, who I think has played well. But that's my guess, is that Carrier comes in for Jost, maybe Saturday against the Rangers. So, but Rod Brind'Amour's got some decisions to make. All right, we got to go. We'll see everybody on Saturday after the Canes and Rangers. Shouts to the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. Shouts to you. By the way, sorry I didn't say hi to everybody in the chat. I wanted to start. We were behind schedule, so I didn't go through and look at all the questions. But if I didn't answer anything, by all means, hit me up at @agoldfan on Twitter, at @agoldfan, or it is at Adam Gold on Blue Sky. Would love to see the Caniac community take over Blue Sky, and we could just chat there all the time. So hit me up, and I will answer your questions as best I can there. All right? Cool. See everybody on Saturday.